we want to take this time to point you at another podcast. We really grateful you're here to listen to us, but you should also take a minute and go and follow and subscribe to Hearts and Carts. They're the CPG podcast. It's run by Alex Hill and Justin Osborne, and it's about the people behind the products that are winning hearts and filling carts. We love these guys. They've been on the show. We've been on their show, and we think they're doing amazing things, and you should stop in and listen to them.
Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Well, we're well. How about you?
Good. Happy New Year.
Happy
Yeah.
New Year. Feels
Yes,
like...
thank you. I forget to keep this a Happy New Year, right? It's been
Ah,
feels so long ago already.
good Lord, it does.
And really it wasn't.
No.
Just 2 weeks ago, but yeah, no, I know
I
what you
know.
mean. It's like you take the time off, you feel relaxed, and then it's like January, ready to go.
Like January 2nd, I feel like it was like whoosh, and off we go, right? And you're like, oh God, what
I
what
think
just
the funnier
happened?
part is, I think it's because the take the time off part, I don't think we do very, very well.
Well, not in retail over the
No,
holidays.
so I think it just kind of just all flowed through. It was good though. It's all good. It's all
It's all
good.
good. Yeah, it's fun. It's the best time of year to be working in retail. Good
It's
vibes,
fun.
good energy.
Yeah, it's
fun.
it's typically good energy and fun, and people are, well, I mean, a little stressed out, but it's still fun, right? I
Yeah.
like
I
it.
used to love working on the floor in retail on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, because
Yeah.
you would just get the
Ah,
last minute shoppers, but they're like so grateful when you can find that perfect thing for them.
At that point,
Which,
yeah, and anything is almost the perfect thing, right?
yeah,
but
That's the best part of it. 2
but
days
that's
before, you'd be a nightmare customer. That day, you're a gem because
you're a hero. Yeah,
anything's good, man.
but that's the mark of a true retail person. Like in your heart of hearts, if you're look, all three of us are smiling like idiots because you remember what working on the 24th is like and actually helping customers, right? But when you actually
yeah.
talk to people who hate retail, like they have the opposite of this, right? They're like, no, nowhere close. I don't want to be anywhere close, like, so I think I think we just,
People,
yeah,
extroverts.
you need
Come,
a
come in.
badge. I know you need a
Exactly.
badge that says
I think that's
certified
what it
retail,
is.
right? Certified, and then also like certified
Let
retail.
me help you.
I think it's, yeah, it's all good, right?
Yeah.
It's why we do
Yeah,
what we all do.
Yeah.
And why we never
totally.
seem to veer too far away from it,
What do you
no
mean
matter how
Yeah,
hard we
it's
veer?
try.
I
We're
miss
like
the
solidly
last
stuck in
two
it.
years
Yeah.
have been hard because of the
Yeah.
pandemic and just that shift away from like in person, and it's just, yeah, for those real connectors, it's hard to do it
Yeah.
digitally. So I'm
Yeah,
happy to, for me, in my world, retail is back. It's like a big resurgence back to community, back to in person. And even for our business, we're like having to shift and reframe our mindset around it.
Mm.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice to have a in-person connection with someone.
I like it. I mean, I'll tell you one thing I do know,
Yeah.
because it seems funny that coming back, I think I've held on to some of the COVID thing where I was like, I didn't like it at first, but I kind of liked it after a while. It was a little calmer in a sense, like you weren't always in front of people, and it was kind of nice. So
Mhm.
I think you can find when I'm going back now, there's times where I'm thinking, I think a virtual meeting would be really good right now, or you know what, maybe we'll just stay home today. Like it's kind of nice
You're
not
gonna
being
have
into the thing.
moments. I think you're gonna have
I don't think
moments,
I
right?
had many before though. I think
Yeah.
that before it was like you're just always plugged in. And now I kind of
Right.
like a little bit of
It's
I
like
don't mind
open to
doing
world
stuff.
of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
good.
It's weird.
It's helped you find balance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go with that. Sure.
Yeah.
I I think it's helping. Like I've been online
since the pandemic started, I've been online, like exclusively online, right? Like all my customers are online. I've seen a handful of clients here and there, but otherwise everything's been online. And then this semester, I was telling Kenny, I started teaching, and one of my classes is in person. So I went from online to 30 students, like 20-year-olds in person. So it's been like, and then I have to be on campus. So it went from like nothing to like, oh, there are a lot of people. But I quite like it. Like I like the balance. I like real people dynamics. They're fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
I love them. I thrive on them. But I do actually like the downtime
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
More than I ever
it's
thought
nice
I
to
would.
be able to walk away from things for a
Yeah.
little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's very cool.
Do you want to, Kenny? Do you want to do an intro?
Yeah, we can do a quick one because I'm not going to do a great job of it because Samantha's going to have to do it all by herself. We have Samantha out today. So how we know this, how we got to know Samantha is via Miss Chloe Holloman Beaton, right? I guess what's she going by now? Beaton or Holloman?
Beaton,
or Holloman
Yeah.
Beaton. Whatever Chloe's going by. Beaton.
Yeah.
Chloe was the one introduced me to you. We had a couple of discussions. I really thought you'd be cool to have on because I like what you're trying to do. So what you, I mean, I'll bastardize this, so you're going to clean this all up. But Better Basics is really about, your caption is reduce, reuse, refill, repeat. And it's really about making sure that we don't continue to put a crap ton of plastics back into our system, specifically through the household environment. So your focus is on cleaning aids, some personal care, etc. But I just really like the idea. But I also know that I told Phil, I said, I think why she'd be cool to have on is there's trials and tribulations in this, trying to figure out how to go to market, how to cost it, how to, is there a play? Like, is it more of a retail spot or a distributor spot or a combo of both? So you were going to be fun because I just thought this one could go all over the place. But so Samantha, it's for me, it's hard for me to tell much more about this because I think you're going to do a better job at it. Next 45 to 60 is yours, but I'd love to hear where you came from, how you ended up in this mess, and how's it going, and what are you seeing? What's going on?
Sure. Well, yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and thanks to my dear friend Chloe for the introduction. We go way back. Just side note, her husband's my husband's best friend. So at her wedding day, she's like, she affectionately referred to the day she met Robbie as the day she met Sam because we became best friends right after we met. So anyway, she's like a dear friend and just love her. So my story is I spent 15 years in consumer marketing. Right out of graduating from my undergraduate degree, went into advertising, went and did my MBA, went and worked for a company called AG Hair locally here in Vancouver, then went on to Lululemon and Sage. So very Vancouver wellness based, personally very purpose driven, very passionate individual. Knew right away when I was doing that MBA, should I go into commercial banking? Not for me. Just I knew right away, like I needed to have a little bit of like freedom and creativity within the work that I do. And that I always wanted to work in a really authentic environment where I could be myself. So that's kind of what led me to the various career choices that I went on. And I'm very passionate about wellness and very passionate about putting my time towards something that is meaningful to me. So all of that leads up to 2020, where I was working for Sage Natural Wellness and just felt like the time was right to go off and do my own thing. So I was vetting a number of business ideas. Throughout those years, I had lost both my parents to cancer. And through that process had really had like a reawakening around wellness, around the products we use in our homes, around, it's interesting, like you go through the cancer agency and they tell you, you should not be using these types of products in your home. And yet the everyday average consumer is still using all those products in your homes. I'm like, if a cancer patient shouldn't be consuming these, like what is it doing to the rest of us who are otherwise known as healthy? So anyway, that was like personally, obviously what sparked an interest in the category and in the space. And then I just started like brainstorming ideas with my business partner, Caitlin, and we both felt passionate that what we were to put out in the world, we wanted to have a bigger mission. We wanted to leave the world better than it was. So we looked at our pain points in our households and the amount of bottles that were just like overflowing out of our recycling bins was an issue. The quality of the ingredients in those products was an issue. We were doing better. We were trying to go to the farmer's market and buy products, and we were going to the refilleries and buying products, but honestly, it was just inefficient for us. Like we were both working pretty big day jobs and had stuff going on in our personal lives as well. So the need was, how do we get people like us more clean products with less packaging to reduce this plastic issue that we have in the world, in a convenient way? So that's where Better Basics was born. We saw the thriving business of these refilleries in local communities, and we're like, how can we apply digital marketing, product design and development, our expertise on that side, and e-commerce and a delivery service to that category. So yeah, our mission is to reduce plastic and toxins. We developed the line, like you said, we have a couple categories. We did a ton of research. We went after the categories that had the biggest plastic problems in terms of waste. We did a whole bunch of research. We knew how many plastic water bottles, how many coffee cups the average North American consumer throws away every year. So we're like, we need to do those. We need to launch those products. We looked at cleaning products. We looked at personal care products, and we looked at the shelves, and there's just no other options that aren't in a plastic bottle with a plastic pump and a plastic everything. And then we read about the recycling issue, which is, honestly, we've been led to believe that I'm an 80s baby. They tell you, like, it was like in school in the 80s, like recycle, it's the solution. So we all put our stuff in our bins and it gets picked up and we're like, yes, we're doing a good job. And then you learn only 9% of it actually turns into anything. The rest of it ends up in a landfill. Some of it gets shipped overseas. It gets incinerated. So it's just contributing to global warming, greenhouse gas emissions across the board in the extraction, in the creation, and then in the end of life cycle. Like, plastic is just nasty. So that was all of that. We did a lot of research. We saw the opportunity. We saw where we could put our strength to this opportunity as well, in terms of like design of the product and the packaging. And then off to the races. We launched December 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic.
Good time.
Amazing.
Good time.
Yeah. One thing about that I will say is it gave us the space to be home and doing all this research and prototyping in a way that I think mentally, had I been, had the world not kind of slowed down, I would have had a lot of maybe pressure on myself to be doing something more with my time.
Right.
It takes a while to get a business going, right?
So,
but yeah,
It
I
took us
also think
8-9 months before we could get it.
totally.
I also think that, the pandemic, for all the bad things it was, one of the things that it really did help us do was to stop and slow down and realize, because you heard that a lot. Like, one of the things that we probably don't talk about very much is the number of people who go, hey, I stopped to read about everything that we're doing to the planet, right? And wow, am I a bad planetary citizen? Like, what do I do here, right? Like, so you did hear that. Like, so it's, in some ways, it's a really, like, timeliness is there, right? That you launched this during the pandemic when everyone's starting to go, wait, I have time to stop and think about, that Thai bottle that
I remember, as
I
crappy
shouldn't
as the
be using,
time
right?
was,
Like, yeah.
it's the amount of stuff that came
Yeah,
out of it. People had time to stop and think.
Yeah.
I mean, look
Yeah.
at all the non-alcohol type of drinks that came out around that time. Because again, we found out at the beginning we're all probably drinking too much and thinking these. But you know what I mean? It's so much. I think it's going to be a funny thing. In 20 years, you'll look back, and amongst all the death and it's just chaotic and expensive. It's probably a reset that was needed.
Yeah,
Not
totally.
that we want a reset, but a reset that's needed anyway.
Well, and we were looking as well at like, yeah, just what we're consuming. You're home all the time. These are products that you use every day. That's why we call
Yeah.
them basics. Like we wanted to go after categories that were just everyday consumables because we felt like we can make the biggest impact there. And
Mhm.
having worked also in industries that you could almost say are more like luxury or premium, I was like, I just want to work on something that people really need. Like it's just
Right.
solving like a baseline need. And I think as well, in terms of mind shift, we've been told we just need so much stuff and we don't. And so that's part of Better Basics as well. Like, how can we minimize, shift the mindset? Like our core product offering is what we call as the setup. And it's the bottles that sit on your sink in your kitchen. And I don't know about you, but when I go to friends' houses or even in my own house, I would always open the sink under the sink and there would be like 10 bottles of things. And I'm like, you just don't need all those bottles of things. You've been like marketed to that you need all those things, but just like one really good cleaning spray, one really good dish soap, and one hand soap. And that's kind of
You're
all you
done.
need. Yeah. So that's part of it as well. Like, how can we just create a more minimal like system for people that's good quality and that just reduces the clutter in their homes and also makes it again easy because as you know as well when we're talking about some of this stuff when you talk about global warming and we talk about the environment and we talk about plastic we talk about ingredients like it's just very overwhelming there's so much information out there it's hard to know what's right so we'll do the research we'll set some standards that we feel are ahead of the curve compared to what else you can find in the traditional channels and yeah and then the idea is that we can build trust with customers and then they can find that Better Basics is really solving this like this need for them in their lives.
Cool. So Better Basics.
There's a little background noise. It's my cat. I don't know if you can hear that.
That's
No, I
okay.
can't hear
The
anything.
animals like to be on the
Okay,
show.
We
We've
get
had
sorry to the
I
dogs
think
and
listeners.
almost
cats.
no,
It's
it's
not
almost
a
every
baby.
episode.
It's not a baby I'm ignoring. It's just a cat.
It's the cat I'm ignoring.
Kind of also a baby. She's sitting outside the door. I closed it on purpose because it's like my cat is very sassy and she'll come in and just sit in front of the screen.
Mm,
Anyways, if you hear her, that's the
That's
cat.
okay.
Millie.
We've
all
had
good.
that. We've had dogs on the show. We've had
Yeah,
cats.
yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
good. That's not a big
That's
deal.
life at home.
Exactly. Well, that's it though. We've
Yeah.
had kids on the show. You've had
Yeah.
partners walk in. It's a family show.
is what it
Whatever.
is.
It's all
Yeah.
good in the hood.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a 15-year-old son at home, but he just started full-time daycare, so he's not here. But otherwise, you would also have that chaos
And why
in the
not?
mix normally.
Why
Yeah,
not?
that's life. Yeah,
Bring it on.
yeah, it's fun. That's one other thing. This is like totally tangent, but one nice thing about this pandemic and doing life virtually is like you get to really see people's real life, right? We're not just in the office all like professional looking great. Sometimes you just have like your hair is disheveled. For me, I had baby puke on me, or like I'm
I think it's
literally holding
awesome.
the baby in a meeting, and it's just like, hey, this is life, and everyone is dealing with their own things in their personal
Yeah.
lives, and it's really humbling and it's really cool to see. I think it builds, in that sense, it builds connection.
I think I think what was good about it is the sad part is before this, it was very plastic fantastic, and it was always you never knew what was really going on. I think this one really did what said what you did. It's cool to see, people in their real environment and seeing how
Yeah.
they really are. I mean, there's times where we used to laugh, like, we do 3 Zoom calls. It's like 4 o'clock. I haven't had a shower yet. You look like you just woke, but nobody cares, right? And it's all good. And it's just more natural. And it seems to me that since we've sort of all gone back a little bit or whatever it is, people are still on that sort of casual kind of mode, which is kind of nice instead of being
Totally.
so uptight that everybody kind of was prior to
I
this.
think it's important to. I actually like it because I think it rounds out what you know about people. And
Totally.
it doesn't, because I think there's this misconception before, especially when you work big companies, right? Is whatever you have going on in your personal life makes you weaker in the job. But I think what we realize now is what we have going on at home makes us who we are on the job, right?
Absolutely.
And so the more you see, the better you know these people. And then there's a better appreciation, right? Like when you've got a baby on your shoulder or the dog's gone nuts, which mine'll probably shortly, right? Like when that stuff's happening and you're still clear and concise and you can get work done, I think that says a lot about who you are, right? Like, I don't know. I love it. Like,
I just think it showed a
I
lot of
love,
people too that we
yeah.
can actually work in
Yeah,
environments
you
that
know,
are
that we're
not
real people, right?
sterile. It's house is
Yeah,
chaos.
that that really appeals to me. And when I even think
Yeah.
about my career and like the choices I've made, back to the like MBA school, literally everyone's there in their like little pinstripe suits and they're going to all
Exactly.
these interviews. And I'm just like, oh, this feels, I don't know, it just didn't feel like me. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
crack a joke or swear at a meeting. I was
Yeah.
like, this is not me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could put on a face. I could probably play that role, but then it feels like soulless. And so now it's nice because I agree. I don't believe in separation between work and life. I think it's just you. This
Mhm.
is what you do during
It's
the day. This is what
life.
you do in the evenings. It's all you. You get to be you. Great. Like let's just be
Yeah,
ourselves and let's
I
do
like
things that
it.
we love doing while we're doing that too. Because like I think so
I think
many
you're right.
people are doing jobs they hate. That's a waste of your energy.
It is.
So for me,
Yeah.
again, like startup, it is hard making a business and trying to have an environmental mission and starting from scratch. But I get up and I'm like, this is something I actually care about. I really do want to do. I'm doing it. So I just think more people maybe need to and I think the pandemic did this for a lot of people, just had a big reflection like, oh, I actually hate my job. I don't want to do that
Oh,
anymore.
I think it
Now I
definitely
want to
did
be an
that for a
artist.
lot of people.
Yeah,
And they're still not
great.
convinced that they want to go
Good.
back to their
Yeah.
jobs, right? I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, there's a reason I think why the
Good.
workforce is so why we've had so much trouble hiring people.
Yeah.
I think people
Yeah.
realize that, you know what, I hate what I was doing. I'm not
Yeah.
going back,
Good. Don't waste your life on
right?
something you hate.
It's true.
Yeah. And then
I
that is
think it's
part
true.
of better basics. Like I saw my parents pass away. They were pretty young. They didn't make it to 60. Like life is short. So don't waste your time doing things that you don't want to do and
Exactly. At
take some risks and go after your dreams. And if it fails, it fails. But at least you've like
least you
put
tried.
some energy into something. Yeah, that's meaningful to you,
Yeah.
Exactly. But that's all it
right?
needs to be. It doesn't need to be meaningful to the ideally what you should be doing is meaningful to the planet or trying to help people. But it's all about it really has to be all about you. What makes you tick? What makes you feel
Yeah.
good? I mean, yeah, please don't do things that are
Yeah.
only good for you and we all suffer around you, but that's that's not what we're getting at. Like
Yeah. I
have a
mean, most
greater purpose.
people, yeah, care about other people and they'll figure
Yeah,
that out. And for me, I love products. I love product design. At one point, I was considering all these other different ideas, and I was like, no, you know what? I actually am a consumer. I am.
right.
I'm not hardcore greenie. I'm not a zero waste home. What I'm trying to do is find other people like me who like nice things still. They want things to look a certain way. They want them to smell a certain way and perform. But then they also have the benefit of not
Right.
leaving this like detrimental
Right.
impact. So better basics isn't necessarily going after the target customer who's like really far on their journey. It's more
Right.
the like busy working professional who's again they have a certain standard, but then they want to feel like what they're consuming or what they're putting out there
Right.
isn't leaving
Well,
behind
Right.
something that's just like nasty.
I like it because I think I'm surfing through the site and I think
The products are nice.
the products are really nice, but I appreciate that it's easy to understand because I think that's one of those things as I started the journey for even us, right? Like I was that guy. So there's an episode with Hayden Thompson and he tells us about how
So depressing.
all the recycling that we do, like none of it's, and I was devastated, right? Because I am that guy in the house, right? I'm like, who like put this in the recycling bin? This goes in compost. Like, I don't understand how this is not, and I sort through all that. And then to hear him say what you said, which is, like 9% or 8%, like something tiny, minuscule goes to recycling, I was
Yeah.
heartbroken, right? But you realize like, God, this is a really difficult, as I'm sorting through products and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
It's difficult. So I like
Yeah.
the site, right? Because the site is really helpful for helping you sort out what's there. And you're right, it doesn't, I don't know what the term is because I'm probably going to offend somebody, but it doesn't make me feel like I need to be a hardcore environmentalist. I just would like to be able to do things that look
Just
nice,
do a
but
bit better.
still, yeah,
do a bit
Yeah,
better.
just do
exactly.
better.
Just do a bit
Just
better.
do better.
We're just doing better. And
Just
we're
do
saying
a
we're
bit
not
better.
perfect. I'm not perfect.
If
Yeah.
we all
I,
just did a little bit
yeah,
better, it would be
just
so much
exactly
better for everyone.
incremental changes. And the other thing that we looked at, because we are globally minded people or North American minded people, we're like, we live in Vancouver. We live in the epicenter, the early adopters, the peak of the little pyramid
Yeah.
right here that we're
Mhm.
having these conversations. But as that trickles down, as you start to look across North America, and then as you start to look globally, it's like, oh, wow, like we have a long way to go. So if we can figure out something here, I believe we will have the ability to influence a much larger audience outside of our local community. And we could even start with just bringing your own bag to the grocery store, because the majority of North America still does not do that. Like we live in this world where like I'd say 80% of the people that are shopping grocery right now, maybe that's a bit high even, like in Vancouver, 60% are bringing a bag. Well, go almost anywhere else in North America and it's 5,
Maybe.
right? Yeah, so we're still trying to influence, I think, a broader audience to kind of
Yeah.
make these slow changes. And that's where, again, Better Basics, I think, fits in, because it still needs to be beautiful. It still needs to be functional, and it still needs to work just like your kind of big
Right.
mass consumer brands.
But the
I th-
normal person,
Yeah.
sorry, Phil, the
go
normal
ahead.
person would have probably done this. Better Basics is you. It's your design, it's your brand, right?
Yeah.
So the normal person would have probably gone out and just started finding other brands, bringing them into a warehouse or facility of some kind, and just selling, in essence, other people's stuff, right? As opposed to creating their own brand of new stuff under, you know what I mean? Like this is a complicated way to do.
Hey, Kenny,
Yes, Phil.
where are we going to be March 30th through April 2nd?
Well, March 30th, you're going to be setting up at the CHFA now in Vancouver and getting all our podcast stuff ready to go, and probably helping me set up our booth at the CHFA now trade show. What were you
It's going to
thinking of doing
be.
that weekend, Phil?
I was pretty excited. I think I'm going to be looking forward to hanging out with Lindsay and Aaron and I don't know, a few
I
thousand of
am
our
super stoked.
closest brand friends and our
100%.
right.
I love this show. I love this show, especially the Vancouver show. No offense to you guys in Toronto, Phil, but the Vancouver show is a cool show. There's probably going to be close to 1,000 vendors there. They're going to get a couple thousand retailers. It is a wicked way to see what's new and cool in our industry. The only way for the natural health organic industry to grow is supporting things like this, whether supporting it on the brand side, the retail side, and really and truly, I mean, I know you and I both feel the same about this on the organizational nonprofit side. These organizations are fundamental to maintaining and growing these industries within our country. I don't know if you agree with that or how to word it, but I think these are critical organizations.
I agree 100%. I think the other thing that you'll see there is, a very healthy dialogue between brands and retailers. They're going to be talking about, so CHFA is kind of where you go to talk about everything natural, organic. If you're worried about or thinking about wellness, all of those products, all of those things are going to be there. This is a show that you really need to be at. It's going to be in Vancouver, March 30th through April 2nd. If you head to chfanow.ca/Vancouver, you'll be able to find out more.
Get your tickets, get going. Great show. And Phil and I would love to catch up and meet with you.
We absolutely would. Kenny will give you a hug for sure.
Oh, you got a hug. That's an easy peasy.
Yeah, a business. But
Business.
again, like our standards are high. And the other thing is with the refill line, like we started there, like going to these refilleries, it's a nice idea, but it's like really inefficient. So
Not convenience.
also the bottles are all those brown amber bottles. They all look the same, the glass bottle. I'm like, I want the bottles to match my counter. I want them to look a certain way. I want a flat wall bottle. I have to make it and I want it to be made out of a material that's like infinitely recyclable and durable. Okay, now I want stainless steel. There's no stainless steel manufacturing of bottles in North America, from what I found. I think there's cans, but there's not like a bottle. So now we're going overseas. We have to find a factory. We have to make a mold. So yeah, it's hard, but it's also, we wanted to do it well. We wanted to do it differently than what's out there. So I haven't seen any other brand in our space with a stainless steel bottle and a stainless steel soap pump. And we chose that material because it's infinitely recyclable.
For sure.
And it's very durable. and we can make it all these beautiful colors, and we can match your kitchen. And so people really like that bottle, and that differentiates us. And then with the soaps and the cleaners and the big jug, again, like we really did materials research on it. We vetted all the different types of materials. Do we put it in glass? Do we put it in steel or aluminum? And then we landed on this one, which is like a hybrid paper plastic. But the benefit of this one is the amount of material is so small for the size. So the paper is recycled paper and it tears away. And then inside is a little recycled plastic bag, which is just so much less materials than if we were to go with anything else, like 80% less plastic than a plastic jug. And I mean, a steel jug would just weigh a ton, and it would leave such a big thing in your recycling bin. So yeah, we really took the time to do the research to find what we felt was the best option. It's not perfect. There's still a bit of plastic in the jug and the liner.
But it's all about
but every
reducing,
time,
right? It's reducing.
Yeah.
So this is where Hayden walked us through our conversation that time, because Phil and I hit depression pretty fast. And he said, listen, he goes, but there's differences. He says, what we use now doesn't require the amount of plastic that the old things do. When you use flat or I guess pliable, for lack of a better word, as opposed to hard plastics, which take up a lot of space, the carbon footprint's a disaster. Yeah. Like all these things just add up. They're not perfect. We know that, but they're way better, way better than what they were.
Like we're edging towards, and then our whole mission is around the refill. So rather than, again, it's a bit of a consumer mindset shift, but rather than buying kind of on a whim, all these little bottles of things that you think you need in the moment, and oftentimes the impulse, and then you come home and you're like, oh, I already have like a whatever cleaning spray. Now I've got 3 under my sink, and they all have a plastic spray and they all have a plastic thing on them. That's all gone. So you just have your everyday one that you're using and you're refilling again. So it's really that's a mind shift as well, a mindset shift for people. Like, don't just keep buying them in their single ones. Buy a bigger size. You're investing a bit more in it. You're buying a bigger size, but you're making your life easier, because then you just put that in your sink, and then when it's empty, you refill it, and you don't have to go to the store as often, and you know you're using a good product, and you're reducing those plastic bottles every time you refill. Yeah, that's the idea of the business. So we're 2 years in. We launched online December 2020, and we've just really been focused on the online business, which has a subscription component to it. So once you love the soap or you love the cleaning spray, there's a few other add-ons that you can add on: a dish brush, a beeswax wrap, or maybe a little lip balm when you set up your subscription. And that was kind of that philosophy. And then I'd say what we talked about early on, just like shifting in what I think is happening is just like a shifting in consumer behavior back to in real life.
Yeah.
Or especially for these kind of products where you just maybe don't think about doing the research online. It's kind of a bit more, you're in the grocery store and you're like, oh yeah, I ran out of my soap. I should get some more. So now it's like a shift in our business into wholesale, into retail. We've been doing, coming out of just Q4 holiday, a lot of pop-up events. So mini retail experiences, short term over a weekend, various cities. We're in Toronto, we're in Squamish, we're in Whistler, and that's been working better than our online business. From a business perspective, we're like, okay, online is great, and again, people still want to touch, feel, smell.
I think online is great for the second purchase. The first purchase is really nice to touch, feel, smell. Just see it. I mean, it is. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, not to say people won't do it. People do it. I get it. People buy online, but people do like to touch
stainless steel bottles. Like that's a sensory thing as much as it is an aesthetic.
I think so.
And
how heavy is it?
Being able to
what does it smell like?
Right?
What does it feel like?
You have some. They seem like amazing flavors, right? Or I don't know flavors, but like the aromas are. What you've got, the flavors seem pretty amazing, right? So
we custom blended them. They're only essential oils. People love the scent. They're like, oh, it's very spa-like. It's very luxurious. Even in Whole Foods, even in the big natural retail grocers, when you look at the shelf, 70% of those products aren't using natural
Mhm.
fragrances, right? And in artificial fragrances, there's a lot of carcinogens and
Exactly.
other things that are in there that you just don't know. So when you see, and I'm talking like massive brands that are promoted as natural, and when you actually read on the ingredient list
Yeah, they're
that
natural
it
light.
just says fragrance
Yeah.
and color.
Yeah.
I
Color's
see these
always a
natural
big one.
brands that are blue and
Yeah.
purple.
Color's
Yeah.
I'm like,
awesome.
there's nothing in nature that's blue.
No,
What are we
no.
doing?
Yeah.
Why is
There's,
that
yeah.
still out there?
Because you know what? People get used to the color. A window cleaner is
I
blue.
know.
Why? Because
Why?
S.C. Johnson or
I don't
Clorox, I
know.
can't remember which
Yeah.
one owns that. They said it was blue. So now everybody goes to blue. Why do you
Exactly.
need
So
it
that's,
blue? I don't know. Doesn't come
yeah.
out blue. It doesn't leave blue. You don't look through blue. Just give it to me
It's like
clear
it happens in food too. And it's
all the
so
time.
scary when you think about it. Like carrots are supposed to be white and purple. Same with tomatoes. Someone decided and they like hybrid bred carrots to be orange and tomatoes to be red. But like in nature and it's like purple, green, orange,
Nature
that's the
just does what nature
natural.
wants. Yeah, it just the colors are colors,
Yeah.
right? It's just we like uniformity and we like to do that stuff. So
Well, I
how
think people are changing. They just
I
need to
hope so.
know, kind of get a little nugget of education around it and also try them because, again, with our scents, we are scented because we like to have that experience of a
Yep.
nice smell when we're washing our hands or cleaning our homes. But because they're essential oils, they usually are less they don't have allergens and they're more gentle. So people who have eczema have commented, "Oh, I can use your soap," and it's the first soap I've been able to use that has a scent in it, and my hands don't get all dry and cracked. And same thing with the sprays. And for myself, because I have been on a clean journey for 7, 8 years. If I by accident bring a product or a candle or something into my home that's got an artificial fragrance, like I can't tolerate it anymore.
Mhm.
So it's amazing once you kind of like get rid of that stuff, it's
Mhm.
actually gives me a headache and it makes me feel kind of sick.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, and I didn't have any obvious allergies to that. So I just think there's a lot with that. Yeah, you like the scent, but you also kind of feel better because it's like not a chemical thing that we've
For
manufactured.
sure.
Yeah.
So the last time you and I had talked, the business was more to what you were saying before. So it was definitively an online play. Because I'm just curious now to see how you progress. We don't know trade secrets. You don't have to get into nitty gritty. But you had, or we're learning quickly that the transition from being a person who buys stuff, a reseller, to an actual distributor, or actually starting to talk to retail, like the margin structure becomes very clear very quickly that, yeah, it's interesting, like how the dynamics play. How are you finding things? Like, where you at?
Oh gosh. Okay. So yeah, this is like completely transparent. So we built the business for a DTC play. My personal experience working for brands has always been vertically integrated. So retail, but we own the retail footprint. So learning about distributors, brokers, that whole world, and I understand it, especially for grocery, where you just need just-in-time inventory all the time. The inventory has to be so fresh. But for our products, it's like it could sit in a warehouse for a while.
Mhm.
Anyway, learning all that, I'm like, oh, it just doesn't. It's not a great system for us. However, where our customers are is in those stores. So yeah, we're learning. We're basically working directly right now with individual retailers that are the right fit for us, or that we feel like are the right fit for us. So across Canada, we've 20 to 30 smaller retailers, some natural grocery, and then some kind of more lifestyle-y boutiques, and they're buying direct. So that's working right now.
Yeah.
We will continue to scale it that way. But yeah, essentially, we have had to shift our model because one day we will want to work with a large scale distributor because we do see that the brand would do well and fit in well in a larger natural grocery chain or retail footprint, right? I'm talking about like the home,
Right.
kind of home lifestyle beauty type retail stores, bigger, and possibly national department stores. We've done some work with Simon's We're on the bay.com now.
Yeah, Simon's is
We're on
actually probably not
well.ca.
bad fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.ca makes total
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what we're working towards. I think the thing with our brand is we need to tell the story in those retail environments. So it's going to take some work to get the right merchandising set up. So the refill system
Right.
is like visually apparent to people. So that's a big learning. Like we'd be selling the product in, and then we go into this shop, and then you'd have like a refill soap over here, the dispenser over there, a dish brush over here, and so no one's getting the actual concept of
Right.
refilling in front of them. So that's something we will is a learning that we cannot, like, we just don't want to do that anymore with retailers. So that we need to find retailers who are willing to kind of merchandise a little bit differently in their stores. So yeah, all of that's been a big learning. And the other thing is just marketing on a shelf versus marketing on a website is very different, right? The package is everything. The pricing, people are more, it's more competitive because you're on a
Absolutely.
wall with 40 other brands. And we are in the fast moving consumer goods category with a lot of huge multinational brands, and they're priced in a way that it's like, it's a bit of a world apart. So the way I see our growth going is, again, more like boutique, people who are aligned with our values, and starting really there because we know our customers there, and we know that we can stand out and they'll care
Right.
a little bit more before we would ever get to anything really mass. And I don't see us ever being super, super mass. Like, I don't, maybe one day, but like right now, those really big supermarket stores, I just don't think Better Basics would be the right fit.
Whether
It's
the consumer there is, or not, they're not not
mhm.
shopping for that there.
Yeah, the price
They're
point's a bit
shopping for
high,
it,
and
but not there.
yeah. And it's just also like, oftentimes you just don't want to take the time in that environment to like learn about all this.
Well, it
It
won't.
works
Plus,
really
I'm not going to give
well.
you 4 feet or 8 feet that you can dedicate to your little world, and you're going
Yeah,
to sell 1/10 of what I would have sold on a 4-foot shelf.
yeah,
Right, because that's the other thing. Because you're
totally.
thinking, my dear, it's real estate. We lease this space. Like
And our
nothing's
bottles are
guaranteed.
big.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's trying to battle
Mhm.
that, but that's okay.
It's tricky though,
Yeah,
right?
we'll
Like
get there.
you've got to do a ton of marketing. Like not only like do you need to sell the brand and the flavors and the smell, but
Yeah.
you've actually got to teach the recycling system, right?
Yeah.
Because like the refill system, because we don't we don't do that, right? Like if you look at even
No, we
like
don't.
it's an interesting conundrum, right? Like because you look at anybody else who does this from razor blades to whatever, and like maybe because guys are the wrong consumer, but we're not exactly like how many razor systems are there? Not many. And yet, like if you look in a guy's drawer, how many razors do they have, right? Because you go and you go, like I think Gillette was the first one to kind of get like the Mach thing through your head. So you're like Gillette Mach 3, right? And you're like, okay, cool, Gillette Mach 3. And then as soon as they changed it to 4, you open the drawer and there's like 5 different razors, right? Because you went into the store and bought the wrong one, right? Like, okay, I'll remember for next time,
Yeah, they
right?
had to buy a
No,
new
dummy.
handle
Like
and 45 handles, 75
yeah,
blades.
yeah.
Nothing
So
works.
like
Yeah, it doesn't.
it's a new
Yeah, no,
challenge, right? Like to teach that, I think.
yeah. It's a new
Hmm.
way of thinking. And again,
Mhm.
there's a bit of an investment in that as well, because the to buy the first bottle is more expensive, and then you're just getting to the
Mhm.
refill. But on the first purchase, it's more expensive because you're buying something that's got quality and longevity to
Right.
it. And then you're also buying a larger quantity of
Right.
the actual product. So,
Mhm.
okay, it's $60 for me to get this thing versus a soap in a little plastic bottle. When I run out of soap that's priced, I mean, we compare ourselves to like $10 brands at our like close to our quality level. I think, to
Mhm.
Right.
be honest,
Mhm.
But that's
we
still
have like a
six
higher
times, right?
quality.
That's a
Yeah,
big, that's a
yeah,
chasm. That's huge,
exactly. So
right?
that is partly why, as a retail growth strategy, our philosophy is we're going to have to go a little more boutique a little more premium in terms of like finding those customers first, working with partners who believe in the values and the mission, who can like merchandise it
Right.
together, and help us tell that story, and like build that way. It's going to be a little more organic, than like mass right out the gate. But we want to find the right partners, and I do see it one day sitting in a Nordstrom, or an Indigo, or like some of the bigger name department chains, and hopefully Whole Foods.
I think definitively you can do all those ones. I think those ones would lend to, if you're in the States, you could
Yeah.
do a Sprouts. But yeah, are you going to look at a Kroger's, a Walmart, a Loblaws, a Sobeys? Probably not. I mean, they will come out, but that will happen when it's Clorox or SC Johnson, 10, 15 years from now, when they clue in that they can actually make more money on this stuff than on the chemicals because the consumer move has happened, then they go in and they do
Yeah.
their thing. And that's fine, right? They satisfy
Yeah.
that need. And hopefully they're cleaner than what they are. They're never going to be as clean as you, but they're better. As long as better
Yeah.
happens, it's all
And
it's
it
all
is
good.
happening. Yeah, it is
Exactly.
happening too. Like, I mean, a lot of the big brands are out there doing that, and there's a lot of interesting brands that are cropping up, um, especially out of the States, that are also looking at packaging
Right.
and ingredient lists. But I still read the ingredients, and some of them still have the artificial
But they
fragrances and
will.
colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and palm oil.
That's
Palm oil is,
that's a
do we know
tragedy.
about palm oil? Yeah, it's in everything.
Yeah.
It's in all of our food, it's in all of our personal care products, and it's just like devastating for
It's
us.
just it's just killing the planet.
So
What do
yeah,
you
we don't
do?
use,
So what do you
Killing the
do with
planet.
that? Like, so because I've been like sometimes palm oil is the one thing, right? Like you read about all these things you could do, and palm oil, hey, I got to cut this out, and then you start looking, and like I like how do you go
you
how do
just,
you
how
address
do you go
this?
about it? I know. Okay, this
Like
is
it's
my tips for like, especially in
yeah.
grocery, right? Because you're so overwhelmed. I'm like, you just got to get into the habit of reading the back.
Yeah.
You don't have to know everything, but even if you just like, when I go and buy something, I'm like picking up crackers, let's just say, and I'm like got 2 boxes in my hands. I'm just gonna flip it and just take a minute. You'll start to learn, and you'll start to see what to look for. And then you can taste the difference. I mean, you can taste difference in quality. It's food,
Mhm.
especially, and the same with your products. Like, you put it on your body, you feel it. There's like a different slick, like, when you've got silicones as well, it's like a moisturizing, kind of emulsifying ingredient that goes into a lot of lotions and
Yeah.
shampoos. Like, you can feel it. It's like a slippery, slicky. I'm like, this is kind of like gasoline on my body. And when you start to consume that a lot, you realize, you're like, this doesn't feel like something nature has created for my body. I slather myself in jojoba oil all day, just straight jojoba oil,
Right.
straight coconut oil. That feels good. It feels really good.
Hmm.
It's like, and your skin's absorbing what you put on your skin, but it just takes a few minutes. I think my like key thing would just be like, just take the extra 10 seconds. You don't need to read it all, but just to turn it around and just take a quick glance, and like, you'll start to pick up on certain things and certifications and things like that. I know it can be very overwhelming for a lot of people, but
I tell people
just
not to
that
read the
one.
whole thing. Samantha, I do what you say. I see, for me, like in specialty food, just look for one thing: palm oil.
Yeah.
Like if you find palm oil, just so we're all very clear, all the other shit's in there too. Like, you're gonna just
Yeah.
find other shit.
Yeah.
High quality, good brands don't use palm.
Don't use
Sorry,
it.
they just
Yeah.
don't. So if you see palm oil, you can pretty much rest assured. And I'm sorry for all the brands that use palm oil. I don't really give a shit. But if you see palm oil,
Yeah.
rest assured there's other shit in there. So
Yeah.
best
So there's a
find
good
that
one. Yeah.
word, you leave. Like when I see the word caramel coloring, I leave. If I see, other colorings, if it doesn't say, beet coloring or something, you know what I mean? I'm thinking,
Yeah.
no,
No.
nature
Or
does.
any artificial color for
Yeah.
fragrance. Yeah.
When you see
Yeah.
peas, like if you go to a snack set and you see truly green peas, they're colored. Peas
Yeah. I
don't
know.
stay green once they've been cooked into those snacks. So
Yeah.
things like that, when you see highly processed food retaining these wonderful, vibrant colors, is bullshit.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I
just
think
look
it's
for
like
small
a way,
things.
shifting away from also that, like, when you're shopping for food, it's like the pause, just taking the pause. but also it's almost like if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
It probably
Like
is.
we have been marketed in a way that we're like, oh, great, I can now buy like carrots that are already peeled and that are already like there, and then they're sitting in this bag of like liquid. Is that
That's
as good
wrong.
for you as taking the thing that's still
Yeah.
got a bit of dirt on it and it's got the leaves attached?
Yeah.
And the skin's still
So it
attached.
and
Just
again, comes
brush
in a
it
plastic
off.
bag. And
Yeah.
it's a plastic bag that you don't need.
You
Why
don't
do you
need
have
the
a plastic
bag.
bag around a carrot? Why is there a plastic bag around a cucumber?
I don't know. I never
There
I don't
understood
shouldn't
that
know.
be.
one.
I
You
never
can't buy a
understood that.
cucumber without a plastic.
Yeah.
Well, you can, because I
A
brought
lot
in
of
a couple
things.
cases the other day. We have cucumbers with no, that's how I label it. Cucumbers unwrapped. Because long
Great.
English cucumbers come wrapped. And I don't understand why they need to be plasticized.
Yeah.
They don't need to be. It's just,
I know
I
they
mean,
don't. It doesn't make
for
any
shipping.
sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the same. I think those are the cues as well when I say people just pause, like like the packaging, because we're going after the packaging issue, but usually that's all rolled into the same conversation around ingredients, around integrity of quality, and all those things are cues that someone has taken a little bit of extra time to like do the research and to think
Right.
about the health and wealth of what they're putting out in the world. And at the end of the day, we all want health and wealth, and it just takes that pause to make the right choice. You probably know it inherently
I think you
too.
do.
Like, yeah, I think it's kind of built in. I'm reading a book right now, Braiding Sweetgrass, which is written by an indigenous woman who's also a professor in, I don't know what it is, but some horticulture.
Hmm.
Anyway, she's talking about how they used to like forage for all sorts of things, but this chapter was about strawberries and like finding nature's abundance, finding really wild strawberries, and how much just better they are than just buying this clam pack of strawberries. And there's something just so romantic about that. I think that inherently any human would agree and understand, like picking this thing off the earth and popping it in your mouth is just a totally different experience. It's a better quality experience and it feels better for you and the earth. And so, of course, we're not all going to be foraging, but it's inherent when you're in a store, when you smell something, when you taste something, when you see it, like you can tell when it's closer to what nature has naturally
Yes.
created, then it feels
Yeah.
better for you, better for your body,
Yeah.
better for the
Mhm.
environment. And I think
Mhm,
that's
mhm.
just like follow that internal compass.
Those are good tips.
Yeah. Those
They
are
are
valid.
they are really good tips. Because I think that it is really daunting, like palm oil in particular. Because you just, maybe I'm a bad choice of product selection. But sometimes you go in and like 3 things you pick up and you're like, this thing's everywhere. Like, what am I supposed to do here, right? Like, so just not eat, I think, or just not. But you're right.
Just
Like,
find the
yeah,
opposite, because there's lots of
yeah,
stuff that doesn't use it. And it's because people don't understand the palm oil this is devastating for biodiversity.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
all they
bad.
do is they just
Yeah.
chop. They just chop areas and make like resorts. They're just like all
they clear
lined
cut
up
and
palm trees, and
yeah.
there's nothing else that grows there except
Yeah.
this shit. I
Yeah.
mean, it's definitely not what nature intended to do. I mean, it's not. The world doesn't. It's not right. That's it. It's just
No,
not
and
right.
we're learning, and I think consumers are becoming much more aware. And
I
hey,
hope
also the
so.
other reality about the environment, like our choices, we are learning because we're also facing the realities of what's happening out in the world when it comes to
Yeah.
climate change and things like that. So again, it's like scary, and we try not to use scare tactics or talk in that way, but it's just a reality check when we're out there. And right now, California's flooding, and BC has had our fair share of like crazy weather. And you just think about all of your choices a little bit and how we can all just
Right.
contribute to doing a little bit better.
No, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, that's the mission. That's the mission. And now we have to actually like get into the selling of it and all that, which is, that's part of and parcel with the project. But at the end of the day, what lights us up every day is talking about this stuff. Like, how can we help make products that are good quality, that people feel better about consuming, that isn't putting as much crap out there in the world? And if we can stay true to that and make that, this is the other reason why we wanted to start our own business and design our own products, is because having worked in larger organizations, I know how hard it is to add that in later.
Mhm.
It's like when you're already doing things, the way business works, like margin and profit, and you need to do things cheaply. If you've made this thing in a plastic bottle with palm oil, it's going to be half the price. And now if I come in there and I'm like, we shouldn't use that anymore and we should put it in a different bottle, like, okay, now we're doubling the cost. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So we had to build it in. We had to start from scratch because it has to be built into the model. It has to be part of the whole entire business. Even when we're looking, we're going to look and try and find the right investors, but the investors need to understand that, like, we are not here to like squeeze every penny out of this business and to maximize profit. That's not the mission. The mission is to reduce plastic. And so we spend more money on things.
But it
We
doesn't mean
spend
you
more
can't
money on
make
quality
you can't
things.
make money though. See, that's the problem that people, they don't get. Like,
Yeah,
just because you can
it's
blow your
hard.
brains out and sell things cheap doesn't mean you're making money. It just means you're doing a lot of top line sales. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the profits come by the spread.
But
So
you're
for a low price, you can
you're-
only have so much spread, right? I mean, it is what it is.
but you're undoing, you know, kind of 20 years
100%. But
of
you're also
training,
undoing what
right?
people want. People like to
Yeah.
consume.
Yeah.
People want to buy tons of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That, you know what? Those 4 or 5
No,
bottles
come on.
of
You know
cleaner
why?
underneath the
Because
sink. You know
the
why?
three of
Because
us
it
are
makes you
really
feel
good
like
at
you
our
got
jobs,
stuff.
Kenny.
Well, that's what we do. You're
Yeah,
right.
because that's what we did for most of our lives. The two of us way more than you, Sam, but like,
No, it's terrible. Like it's
that's what we did. Is if you went into a store and you spent $60,
how do I get
my
65?
mission was to not like the early days was 65, and the real mission was like, well, if you're 60, you really should be able to get to 90. So how do I show you how to get to 90, right?
Right.
And then like if you're at 90, how do I get you to 120, 130, right? Like,
And it's easy. I'll give you an all-purpose cleaner, but then I'll add, this one's actually better for the stove.
yeah,
This is the microwave.
yeah,
This is the
Yeah.
gas range.
yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
stove. It's the same product. It's the same guts.
I know.
But you know what? Now you
Oh.
need 4 bottles. And if you don't have 4, you know what?
You need 4.
You're not cleaning well.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
you're just really not doing
I
yourself
know.
any
Yeah.
service. You should have a bottle for everything.
Yeah.
It's like the beauty.
But that's a hard mentality to
industry
get
is
out of, right?
even like harder to wrap your head around the beauty industry. I know it's like you need a moisturizer for every little, like your eyes are different than your
But
nose.
vanity,
and then your mouth
vanity,
is different.
vanity works on that one, right?
Yeah.
When you're sitting there and
I
you're trying to
know.
look younger or whatever you're trying to do, it all makes sense to you at that moment. Absolutely. The above the eye is totally different than the wrinkles. It's got to be two different things.
Guess what? All those
100%.
vain people. Guess what actually impacts the look of your face more? Good sleep, water, good nutrition,
Yeah.
maybe some moisturizer, but reducing the palm oil.
Stay out of
probably
the sun,
actually-
drink your water, and eat properly.
Yeah. Get
Not
really
rocket
good
science.
sleep.
Yeah. All those
Yeah,
75 different
I
types of
know.
products for your face is good too, apparently.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, that's
I don't know.
we're very mission based and passionate about this, and that's how we
It's
live.
good.
It's like a lifestyle.
No,
And
it's
I
good.
think there's a lot of people out there that do care about that, and especially the younger generation. They're like super
Yeah.
plugged into this. They're ahead of us, actually,
Yeah.
with a lot of things. So I feel really hopeful and I feel really optimistic about it. And it's hard. Like, we're spending more money. We're having to go a slower growth route. We're having to kind of like learn and test different things. And it's not like rocket ship business prototype, like type of business that we're
Right.
all kind of familiar with.
Yeah.
So we have
Yeah.
to, we're kind of going against the curve in that sense too.
Well, we love it.
I like it. I
But
think that's when the mission
maybe
comes
business
back.
needs to change.
I think business does. need to
100%.
Yeah, maybe business needs to
100%.
It does.
change.
I don't think, you
Really
know what,
does.
you can
Yeah.
still make a living and you can still make money without having to be, you know, you can do it slowly and do the right things, or you can do it very quickly and probably not do a whole ton of right things. Right? I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
we want to have staying power.
and I think you will. I think if you stay
Like
stay
one
the
of our,
course,
yeah,
the day you decide to cheat, remember, that'll
like
be
one
the
of our
day
missions is,
you'll kill yourself, right? You know what I mean? It'll
I
be the day
know,
that you'll
yeah.
know that
Oh,
you'll
there's
say,
every day there's those
because
decisions.
it's hard not to, because you're thinking maybe they're right. Maybe if we did just go to a little cheaper, we could come down to $29.99 and sell a lot more. You can. Is it the right decision though? Is it that really what
know.
you believe? Is that
Oh, if we
really
get rid
what
of
you
the
want to do?
essential oils, we can
Sure.
save this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
know.
You know what?
Yeah,
I mean, sure.
yeah.
You know what?
Our
If you add a little more plastic into the out material,
Yeah.
you could probably cut the cost
so
a little
much
bit.
cheaper.
But
Yeah,
but
I
you get
know.
why the
Yeah.
motivation
No,
becomes
we're
that. It's hard not to. Stainless
Yeah,
steel
it's
is
hard
not
not
heavy.
to.
Stainless
But we
steel is
don't.
very heavy to ship. Stainless steel doesn't
Yeah,
bend, doesn't move. So you're cubing really fast because there's no give. So if you didn't use
yeah,
stainless steel, maybe just plastic. It can squishy,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So much lighter. Yeah. No, it is. We're going against convention. But the other thing I'd just say about it, and part of our, I guess, side mission is we wanted a company that one day other people, young people, are going to want to come into, take over,
Yeah.
be passionate about it. Like I was working always with a big team of young marketing professionals in their 20s, and I just could see them. I'm like, I want those people to come in one day and feel the positive energy of like doing something with their time. And I hope that Better Basics can be that as well. Like we're going to hopefully be this incubator for smart do-gooders who want to come in and
I hope
change the
so.
world and work for a company that set up
Yeah.
a standard for that. So like, let's get to a certain size, and then honestly, Caitlin and I are like, let's hand it over, because those future, like those those Gen Zers, when they're ready for it, they're going to take this to the completely next level, and that will be really exciting to see.
I think so too.
We think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. Anyway, it's
Thank
good.
you.
I'm glad
Thank
you're
you for
doing what you're
coming
doing.
on. Yeah. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
excited to watch you guys grow.
Yeah.
Thank you, and yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And
Oh God, our pleasure. We'll have you
yeah,
back on
we
and like toward the end of this year, just to see where you're at. How's it going?
You
What's
have
going
some
on?
new launches coming.
Yeah, I like to see. I like to see how you're making out. And
So,
I wanted about the transitions.
yeah.
You've talked a little bit. I didn't get into the pop-ups, but I'm curious to see where the retail side goes and how this plays with the online and how you balance all this mess that we call consumer packaged goods.
When you throughout the year, as you see things that kind of either set you off, or as you're coming soon, things start to come, instead of coming soon, they've arrived. Shoot us a note, because we do
Don't
a
do the
whole
we
bunch
can just
of
do a
like
fast
fast
thought.
thoughts and things like that.
Yeah,
We'll
they're
jump
like 10
on for a
minutes.
10-minute convo. We would love to do that with you. I think those would be really fun. So yeah.
Because Phil and I are
Yeah.
very, you have always ulterior motives because we're little older. We're probably not as in tune. So I love when there's my daughter's like that. She'll pick me with these things all the time. So the only way I kind of keep up to date is if sort of the younger people kind of just show me this stuff, because otherwise,
No, but
by
listen,
the time I
like
see it, I
we
don't like
love
being
learning,
late.
right?
I
We
like
love
it. I like
learning,
to see what's
and
going on.
honestly, we come from a gen that wasn't very good at any of this stuff, right? So I
Well,
think
we gave you a
we're trying
purpose to clean up. See,
yeah.
I
We
was going to
just-
say, and actually, like
we made it so
people do,
messy that
and
you have to do
you
something now.
care, and you still care, and it's like
Yeah.
it's just all part of
We're
parcel with the
trying.
changing of times and
Yeah.
transitions and
Yeah,
shifting.
I think we're
So
all
Yeah.
trying. We're all trying.
thank
Need
you
to
for
try harder.
even caring and like wanting to know more about the why.
No, I think
we
it's
love it.
Taking the
We
one
love it. We love
hour
it.
to
I think it's cool.
explain my business.
No, I think it's
Because
cool.
It takes me an hour to tell you all of
Exactly.
No,
it.
we love it. We love
Well,
it.
it's all good.
We're
Okay, go take
honestly,
care of the
you
cat,
come
too.
back anytime. You better let the cat in, because
Yeah, the cat's got to be. You got to take care of the cat pretty soon.
Yeah, she's getting really anxious
Yeah.
out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, Samantha. You
Nice to
too.
see you
Thanks,
Take care.
Samantha.
Okay.
Okay,
Ciao.
bye.
Phil, hang
Bye.
on for a bit.
Yeah. She's great.
She's pretty good. I mean, it's a tough gig, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
tough gig. When you're looking at, I'm more kind of proud of her in the way that it's so easy to just go right to the cheat and get those cogs down and get the retails down so you can get into retail and you can just watch it explode, as opposed to saying,
Yeah.
you know what, the price is sort of the price because of what we're doing. And if that means we just have to go slow and we really have to be more thoughtful of who we pick,
So be
et cetera,
Yeah.
then so be it.
But
Right.
like,
And it's a
so
grind. That's
so
fine.
there's a whole bunch of these guys that are now, like, it's not a one-off, and we are seeing more and more of these. Like, so if you look at like Good Juju is in this
Yeah,
category.
For sure.
They've done some amazing things. They are after the same sort of cause, same purpose, right?
Yeah.
And then one of my favorites, like Humble Chips, is in this
Yeah,
category,
totally.
doing the same sort of thing. And they're doing it in categories that
They're tough, buddy.
They are not margin friendly. They are
No.
not,
And they've been price set at
yeah,
prices
yeah,
that these guys will
yeah.
never,
So
and
I
I hate to
really
say it,
love
but
it.
they won't be able to get to.
I really love it.
It won't
Like,
happen. I think it's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, I really
I just,
love it.
I just hope that even as consumers, if that means, it's like, it's hard because, I have with the retail side, I mean, I see it, but it's like anything. I mean, it'd be so much better if you wanted to indulge and you wanted, let's say, the chip or the snack. I know 2 bags at $6 is better than 1 bag at $6, but is it really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
first off,
Yeah.
we don't need 2 bags of chips because it's not good for us anyway.
Yeah.
And I get the indulgence. You don't mean, we both love chips, so we get that. Maybe, what, you're gonna spend 6 anyway. Buy one and just stretch it. It's better for you. And quite frankly, this particular example, it's better for the planet. Like,
Yeah.
it's just better all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get to consume as much. I get that. But we probably don't need to anyway.
No, I like it. Like, I think just watching, more than one brand realize what needs to be done, and then wandering upstream in categories where they're not streams, like they're
They're not
rivers, they're
streams, they're rivers,
waterfalls,
and they're
right?
trying to go up waterfalls
yeah,
that are,
yeah,
miles
yeah.
high. Like, come on, it's
Yeah. So
it's
it's
a bitch.
amazing. I think it's really inspiring to watch.
I just hope,
Yeah.
I hope a lot of them can just
Yep.
survive long enough just to get over the humps.
Well,
Because the unfortunate part, to get over a lot of the humps,
yeah.
you have to play the game, which means that you start compromising, and that would suck.
Well, listen,
You
so
don't have to.
our
But it would-
listeners, you should go check these guys out. Like, their stuff is,
They're trying. They're doing a good job.
and it's beautiful, right?
It's
Like, their
gorgeous
stuff is
packaging.
beautiful. So
It's gorgeous.
definitely go check them out.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that
That's
is it. Thank
Thanks
you
for
for listening.